So I'm not talking about the 2008 film, The Midnight Meat Train here, not the Vinnie Jones one, but I want to look at something probably darker. Now, when I talk about child trafficking, you will automatically, or cloning, you will automatically be programmed to say, hey, the Orphan train. Now, as you know, the Orphan train started from 1854 to 1929. Now, there's a lot of theories out there to what is actually going on in that, and people wrote books and different things like this. I know that. But what I want to look at today is something that's not talked about, that I've been talking about for many years, and YouTube keep regularly deleting my video, and that is the children crusades. Now, that happened in 1212. Now, I'm going to be correlating and showing you what both of these are together. It's basically like a train, a meat train. They're being trafficked for food, sexual exploitation, adrenochrome, all of the above, clones, you name it, it's all of the above. But why is no one talking about the Children Crusade? It happened a long time before that. This type of practice has been going on since dawn of time, since there was men. These practices have been going on, ritual sacrifice, etc. with children and so on. It's been going on for so long. But why is the Children Crusade forgotten about, told that it was fake? And this is why I want to look at both together, because it started in New York, or as we know, the Big Apple. Now, the Big Apple, as soon as you say Big Apple, in your head we're programmed to think about the Serpent. Well, I am. And even now they have art installations in New York about the Serpent, and you're seeing one on the screen now. But to me, the train symbolises an iron snake, a serpent, and that is the route that I want to get down. But I'll give you a brief up of what the Orphan train is, what they say is, not what everyone else is saying and they've done videos on and different things. I just want to give you what they say. The Orphan train movement was started in New York. Remember New York, the gateway. The gateway is a doorway, and it so happens to be the 11th state. Something I've looked about in previous videos years ago. That is huge symbolism right there. And they say it was started to basically resettle homeless and destitute children. You know, the foundlings. They were called foundlings. From children from the city to rural Midwest. The movement was initiated in the mid-19th century by organisations like the Children's Aid Society, which sought to provide these children with better lives and families. So we're talking about a huge child trafficking train ring, basically. Now, you can believe they were all clones, they were NPCs. Some have said the Cabbage Patch Kids is another one that they talk about. Or was it purely a meat train? Which to me is a lot darker, adrenochrome and eating and child worship. But the reason I talk about the link with the serpent and the train, the symbolism of that, because all the children were put on the train. So it's symbolising to me like the serpent swallowing all the children basically. And a train can be seen as a symbol of the serpent because of its long wriggling form and the sounds it makes, you know, and ancient tribes talked about it being a iron snake because of the mechanical monster, and it represents the colonial power. But also the train can be viewed as a symbol of progress, technology, might, but also how serpents can symbolise transformation. So to me, it was a huge ritual, these trains of the serpent, a train. And you don't necessarily have to be physically on a train for it to be a train. It's like a caravan. You know, a caravan's not just something that you can stay in, but a caravan as a trade network. And this is why I want to get at and basically briefly talk about the Children Crusade, because it gets overlooked because of the Orphan train. Now, the Orphan train happened for 75 years. This basically, Children Crusade, was basically 1 or 2 years, 1212. You know what I mean? And that was overlooked. So that's what I'm going to look at, and a few other things that I put in the original video that YouTube keep deleting. So let's get on. So guys, I will be paraphrasing here and just going over the basics of this, because I don't want to get too in depth on it. I wanted to keep the video short and sweet, just to let you guys know, hey, there's an alternate to the Orphan trains, a far older train of sorts, the Children Crusades. That's the whole point of the video. Plus YouTube keep deleting it on me, so I thought, you know what, I'll rehash it, make it a little bit shorter, and hey guys, have a look at this. And that's just what I want to do. So think about this now. We've got to think about this. 2 children. There was a Stephen of Cloyes, which is, I believe, is in France, and Nicholas of Cologne. Now, I believe Nicholas of Cologne, or I might have got it the other way around. I think Stephen of Cloyes was about 12, Nicholas of Cologne was 16, but some say it was a little bit older, but still children. So you have 2 children who believe they have been given messages from God to basically take the Holy Land. Yeah. So these 2 children were given messages from God. They were on a mission from God, like the Blues Brothers, and they were told to go and save the Holy Land. So they thought they'd preach the way, they'd go see King Philip of France, the other one would go see Pope Innocent III, and they would get backing for a children's crusade. How crazy is that? They both got rejected basically, but what's intrigued me about this is, we talk about the sheer number of people and the foundlings and the children in the Orphan train. Well, they reckon from 30 to 300,000 each followed each one of these children. Now I want to show you the rough route that people state that they took, and I'll show you on screen now. So you had basically Stephen of Cloyes basically going seeing the king first, then marching all the way down to Marseille with between 30 and 300. They both say that. All those children. Now, there were a few adults, but the majority of it were children from what we're led to believe. Nicholas of Cologne, as you can see, marched all the way down to Genoa. Now, Genoa, and where have you heard this, is known as the gateway to Europe. So the both of them were teaching and preaching and basically marched like a train, like a serpent, all the way down to Genoa and Marseille. Now, Nicholas of Cologne was supposedly have said, when we get there, I will part the sea like Moses and we'll walk across basically to the Holy Land. Now, if you've followed me for a while, you know the intrigue I hold with Genoa. It is named after Janus. And it was a part of where the Black Plague went through as well. Another devastating event. But what got me is, no one knows what happened really to Nicholas and Stephen. They say Stephen went back after getting to Marseille and Genoa. They went back and went to France, and he was preaching in an abbey and things like this. Nicholas of Cologne, they said they died on his way back from the Papal States in the Alps. But according to research, when they got to Genoa respectively, the children thought, you know what, how are we going to get to he's not parted the sea. And they don't say where these traders were, they just say they went to Genoa, etc., and Marseille. They're not like which one was in town or both. And they went to those locations, and 2 traders said, we'll take you for free. We'll take you for free to the Holy Land, you know, because we love the cause and what you're doing, and all these children, you know, just walking around, hundreds of thousands of children. But get this, guys, listen to the names of the traders: Hugh the Iron and William the Pig. According to research, they sold them into slavery. That's what they did. So X amount of the children, thousands and thousands, were sold into slavery by Hugh the Iron and William the Pig. And what a surprise. You can just think about it. They were licking their lips of sorts, because all these children just left home, and decided they were going to save the Holy Land. Now, yes, there was X amount of adults, but I'm talking hundreds of thousands of children on a mission from God, walking through all these states in 1212, got to the port, and 99% of them were sold into slavery. Now, what happened from there, we cannot say, but you can put the image into your head, what happened with slavery, etc., exploitation and slavery, death, etc. There's so many repercussions that would have happened. But that just blows me away. So we're talking about this huge event that is never talked about really on the same level as the Orphan trains because of the tie-in to the mud flood and Tartarian aspect. It got a huge following, yet this happened earlier. I've been talking about this for 5 to 8 years, trying to make people, hey, look at this. This thing's going on for a lot longer than you think. And this was a huge event. The significance and the ritual aspect of this is just as big. And why? Ask yourself, why is the Children Crusade ignored? So I couldn't get the image of like a devouring serpent, the train, and obviously the train of people in the Children's Crusade walking in line, forming a human train. So I couldn't get that image out of my head, and I just wanted to look at that serpent link. And I was just curious, was there anything in history talking about a devouring serpent? And as you can imagine, there's loads, but what stood out for me was just this, because I don't want to go and name everything out there because I wanted for it to be a short video. But here's what came first, and it's crazy. So here goes. So what you're seeing is just a random new image of basically a person, a goddess called Lamia. Now, she's a figure from Greek mythology. Now, she was supposed to be a beautiful queen of Libya who became like the mother of children. She had kids with Zeus. And as you know, her Hera didn't like that type of thing. So she cursed Lamia. Now, there's different ways of looking at it and different interpretations. One, that she was cursed to eat her own children. Another is that Hera made her watch her own children be killed. But then what they both agree on, she then went on to become a child-devouring monster with a serpent's body. Now, her grief and her rage over her lost children basically became her defining trait. Later in the life of this Lamia, she then becomes a vampire. But just picture a woman or a serpent devouring children, and that's like the type of image that I got from the Orphan train and the Children's Crusade. Now, what's interesting is, and they contradict themselves, it sounded familiar, and some of them call Lamia a demon, and that triggered me because I did remember something way in the back, and I had to check, and they contradict themselves. So here goes. They talk about Lamia and Lilith. Basically, I thought that they sound similar, but they say they're not the same. Now, they also talk about how it was conflated due to similar characteristics, like being a child-devouring female demon with snake-like features. And in some ancient translations, the word Lilith was translated as Lamia in biblical texts. And in certain later mythologies and modern stuff, they're presented as sisters or a single entity. So they have been mixed. So I was right, but they say no, they're not the same, but yet they are the same and have been used as the same throughout history. And you just picture the train of a serpent devouring children, and that's like the symbolic nature of it that got me, if you get what I'm saying. And I wanted to look at, is there a symbol for Lamia? And they say there's no really official symbol for the mythological figure of a Lamia. And they just said she's represented by imagery of a half woman, half serpent creature. And, you know, the hybrid form serves as a primary visual and thematic representation of the character across various myths and artistic interpretation. So basically, she's just half woman, half serpent type of thing. Different formats, you'll see it. So when I'm reading this out to myself, half serpent, half creature type, I think of Melusina. Now you can see it on the screen. Now what we're interpreting, I'm gonna just read out like what it said. You can see they are one and the same. Half woman, half serpent. So that got me thinking. We all know Melusina as Starbucks, the twin-tailed siren. And I'm just wondering, is this Lamia really that? And we're all just going and saying it's Melusina. It's something to think on, because you only have to look at what they are. Now it could just be coincidence, that word again, that yes, they're half serpent, half woman, and I'm just pulling that together, but you know how my brain works. And as you know, Melusina is a figure from European folklore who is a female spirit of fresh water, typically depicted as woman from the waist up, and a serpent or fish. People just think it's just a fish, but in a lot of the descriptions, she's a serpent. Yeah, that has a fish tail, but some of them don't have a fish tail. So you can just see where I'm getting from. And again, while I was talking about there's no universal symbol for Lamia, she's just half woman, half serpent, the same as Melusina. That's intriguing, isn't it? So could Starbucks be Lamia, the child devouring demon? It's not like the first time that we've had a serpent devouring a child or a person, and you get that from Alfa Romeo. You just look at the logo, and that's the modern representation, whereas the older ones, which I'll show you in the top corner, actually depict the child. So if you're not unsure, I'll give a quick readout on this, just so you know you can get the gist of why I'm including it. And what intrigued me is we've already talked about how some of these 11s are tied to this, because it's a moment when they do something, a transition or a period, and it's a ritual. They try and get these 11s in throughout. And this coat of arms was chosen, have a guess when? 1910. That's an 11. So straight there, that did alarm bells for me. And why would you have a child being devoured as your symbol? Is a bit weird, isn't it? You know. Anyway, the company are from Milan, and the Milanese company incorporated a coat of arms of the city of Milan, which is the cross of the white background. It's basically the corporation, Janus's cross. Now, as you put a cross in your fingers now while you're listening. I've done this in previous videos, and open your hands up. It's an 11. Even in gematria, adds to 11. An old name for a cross is a rood, R-O-O-D. That is door backwards. It's telling you, it's one of those events. So the cross on a white background, and the coat of arms of the Duchy of Milan, a serpent. The serpent devouring its prey, usually a baby, on the coat of arms of the duchy, known in heraldic terms as the biscoin, from Latin bestia, meaning beast, was borrowed from the coat of arms of the Visconti family, the first rulers of Milan from 1277 to 1447. So not far away, only 50 years from the Children's Crusades. Subsequently, when the direct line of the Visconti's dukes faded away, the serpent, along with the duchy, was adopted by the son-in-law of the last Visconti, Francesco Sforza. Thus it became part of the symbolism of the Milanese Sforza as well. Various myths offer explanation for the bloodthirsty serpent in the coat of arms. So you can just see how it's talked about. One of these things are, the first one states that Bonifacio, the Lord of Pavia, married Bianca, the daughter of the Duke of Milan, while Bonifacio, or how you pronounce it, Bonifacio, was fighting the Saracens. His son was abducted and devoured by a huge serpent. So there's like one of the myths behind this, and this has just intrigued me about this being used in regard to a symbol, a logo, and it just gets you to think, doesn't it? And in the UK, I can't say for everyone in the world, from Middlesbrough to Merseyside to Nottingham and throughout England and Scotland, in the 70s and 80s, there was an artist called, let me find his name, Peter Hand. a painter, a father hand, and he designed various animals, but this one what caught my eye, and it was a wooden snake. Now this was used for children in shopping centres and so on, and just look at the ritual. It's just the same as the Alfa Romeo. The serpent was getting fed from children and they were devoured. They were being like a ritualistic sacrifice. They were going into the mouth of the serpent. And like I said, they were throughout northwest and the south. I don't know if how far and wide they went in Wales and in Ireland and that, but in the UK we had these round, and I found them online, and I believe the nickname was Kess, kid eating snake, and you can see it even made them in metal form. So it's just like, wow, if you think about this, things in the 70s and 80s of children being devoured by a snake, it's like hidden in plain sight. It's the lamia, it's them being devoured. It's the children crusade, it's the orphan train right in front of your face, ritualistic sacrifice, and people did it without even thinking. So after just doing that little section, it got me to think of the logos, and I just search engine children's aid stuff, children's societies, and these were like in the top searches. What do you see when you look at each of these three? And it's what I've been talking about. A serpent, a snake. I see it. The Children's Aid Society at the top left, as you can see, it's like a serpent, and then it's got like the forked tongue, if you want to look at it, swallowing an egg or a child or an infant. You look at the top right, again, the forked tongue, swallowing like the sun, swallowing the egg, swallowing the child, etc. And then the Children's Aid, it's like the mouth is being swallowed. The sun, the egg, is being swallowed by the serpent mouth. A bit like a Uberos thing of a serpent within a serpent within a serpent, because there's one underneath. I know you can say a crescent moon, but in these three, after thinking on and what I've just been talking about, they scream. They scream it, don't they? It's like a serpent. It's like, do these people not check, or is it done by design, like a lot talk about? I mean, you could also say that Children's Aid Society in the top left is a Melusina, is a lamia. Half serpent, half human. It's just in your face. I just think they don't even try these days to hide the fact. And as I'm editing this and looking at that Children's Aid Society, what I was just talking of, half serpent, or a serpent swallowing an egg, an embryo, a cell, a child, it got me to think of the Serpent Mound. And to this day, people theorise on what it actually is, and we can all agree on that. It's with the stars, it's a ritual, it's this, it's that. No one agrees, but you will have an opinion. But if you just say what you see what you say. You see a serpent swallowing an egg, a cell, a baby, a thing. You just see a serpent swallowing what I'm talking about as a cell, the sun. And has this always, like I was saying, like I showed you, it's been going on. Is this just another rendition of it, or is this something completely different? I'm open to everything. I'm not stating it's this before anyone gets a nice trigger typing warrior keyboard stuff. I'm just saying, hey, this symbol matches what I'm saying. Is this something else? It's just old food for thought, no pun intended. So as I was explaining about the Children's Crusade and the Orphan train basically being the same thing, and why is no one talking about the Children's Crusade? Why not? Maybe it's because the Children's Crusade contained one of the agendas, one of the gatekeepers. It was an agenda sought up to rally kids to do one of these trains, just like what is happening in the last few years. And we know the most popular gatekeeper at the minute for being young is Greta Thunberg. And as you can see, just look at how this article states what she's doing. Greta's very corporate Children's Crusade. It's there in the title. She's rallying up the youth to do another meat train, another ritual. You can see it. Let's carry on. List of climate change crusaders under the age of 20. So you can see this youth, this agenda, this children crusade that is happening over and over throughout history, and she is a mouthpiece. She is a serpent. She is a lamia, as you can see. So back in the old video, it just got me thinking. We're talking about, remember, Stephen of Cloyes and Nicholas of Cologne. Well, there's not many images, especially on Nicholas of Cologne. There's the odd rendition, let's say, of Stephen of Cloyes, right? And what got me is, I thought, it couldn't, could it? So what I did, pardon the click, I faced at, this is from the old video 4, 5, 6 years ago, and I just made Greta Thunberg into a male, basically the same. You can see it nigh on the same. So I found an image online. I didn't make this. It was just what has been made. I can't say this is Stephen of Cloyes for anything. I can't prove it. It's just an image that is attested to being him. You know what I mean? So let's look. Now there's Stephen from what I found on the webs. And obviously we saw images of children preaching for the Children's Crusade. Now it's on basically this green agenda. And Greta Thunberg is their mouthpiece. So there's Stephen. So I thought, I've just made Greta into a boy. I see a similarity again. Is this just my eyes? So I put Greta's head into Stephen of Cloyes, and lo and behold, this is what you see above. I want to know, it's not identical, but it's nigh on. You start to see a pattern. There they are, side by side. I can see it, and hopefully you can see that. I'm not going start raving mad. I just thought, whoa, Greta's the new mouthpiece. And I'm like, no way. Because I made the video in the original research, and I'm like, they look far too similar. It's like they're pushing this agenda, this train, this meat train, and people are talking about cloning and Cabbage Patch Kids, etc. Could it be? You can see it. It's nigh on identical. I mean, you've seen other images of an old photo, and people are saying, well, that's 120 years ago. How can this be Greta there? And you can see it on the screen, can't you? I mean, you even got to look at the famous artist Rubin, his daughter. Again, too much similarities to ignore. Not to say they're one and the same, but to raise that question, what if? If this cloning, etc. happens, and there's only so many variations of the face, I leave it up to you. But come on, guys, there is this Greta Thunberg and this climate change, this children's crusade for a greener future. You saw it. You saw the agenda being pushed. You saw the youth being doing it. This, to me, is just another children crusade. They even say it themselves. And what are the odds that the leader who is doing it for Gaia, so for God, uncannily resembles one of the original 1212 crusaders? And you remember, if you just add 1 or 2 is 3, 1 or 2 is 3, the number is 33. So it's weird. Children Crusade CC 33. So it just blows me away, and I don't really like talking about these types of things in videos because I've got children of my own, but we can't ignore the fact. And I've done various videos on adrenochrome and different things, and I just thought, well, hey, YouTube keep deleting my Children's Crusade. I'll just remake it, put a few things in, change the title to The Meat Train, because that's what it is, unfortunately. It's sad, it's dark, but it's just a train, and they're classed as cattle. And if we don't talk about these things, nothing will be exposed. And this is just my little short video showing this very fact. Just look at this agenda. Why is this Children's Crusade being ignored? Is it the fact that that person resembles the original person in the Children Crusade, or is that just putting 2 and 2 and getting 7 together? I don't know. I'll leave it up to you good folks, but I just hope you'll like this video, you'll share it and you'll subscribe. Stay safe, always wear a smile, and I'll see you next time. Bye guys.